Hi, everyone. This is a Know Your Rights presentation that is about disproportionate discipline. The point of this presentation is to inform families about their rights within the school system because Muslim students and students of color often face higher and more extreme discipline rates. For context, CARE Washington is a civil rights and advocacy organization serving Muslim individuals, families, and communities in Washington state. I am Ayoub Ahmed, community organizer at CARE Washington, as well as a law student at Seattle University. Today, I'm here with my amazing colleague, Angelique, that I will now allow her to introduce herself.
Thank you, Ayoub. My name is Angelique Rodriguez. I am the policy assistant here at CARE Washington. I'm also a student at the University of Washington.
Next slide, please. So, disproportionate discipline, according to Washington state law, is codified under RCW 49-6400, which bans discrimination and preferential treatment based on race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin. There are also multiple layers of coverage because disproportionate discipline often includes preferential treatment and discrimination. The Washington Constitution also guarantees all students have equal treatment within the education system. Both of these tied together ban disproportionate discipline because preferential treatment based on any type of race or origin or color is banned, as well as discrimination based on these things. And disproportionate discipline is essentially treating groups of students at higher disciplinary rates based on their color, race, or origin. Next slide, please. The Washington Administrative Code is a set of rules that are passed through the state that give rules and regulations to how government organizations are supposed to be run. There's WAC codes for hospitals, anything, schools, anything that the government runs. All public agencies must adhere to. These are the WAC codes for disciplining students in Washington state. It mentions age-appropriate discipline, bans threats and physical discipline, and also ensures fairness and equity in the administration of discipline. These laws also give us a guideline to ban disproportionate discipline in Washington state schools. Next slide, please.
So disproportionate discipline leads to decreased academic engagement, performance, and attendance, as well as an increased likelihood of the student dropping out. So in short, disproportionate discipline has clear impacts on clearly negative impacts on students. Next slide, please. So we have here, so ACEs refers to adverse childhood experiences. And we have here that 45% of all children in the U.S. experience at least one ACE, adverse childhood experience. The number jumps to 61% for Black students and 51% for Latinos. Also, these Latinos and Black students are more likely to experience ACEs more generally. And then ACEs in Washington, 47% of children ages 1 through 17 experienced an ACE. We have that Black preschoolers are 3.4 times more likely to receive an at-home suspension. However, in Washington state, Black students are 7.6%, while white students are at 1%. Next slide, please.
A few examples of disproportionate discipline can be seen if a Muslim student is not allowed to pray as a disciplinary action, a Muslim student not being accommodated for their religious holiday, or just being punished at a higher rate than his peers. As some of us know, Washington State allows students to have religious accommodations if a teacher were to deny a Muslim student their right to prayer or to a religious holiday, that would be seen as discriminating against that student and also giving preferential treatment to students who are allowed to participate in religious accommodations. This would be banned in the RCW, the Washington State Constitution, and be against the Washington Administrative Codes. Next slide, please. So this was Islam's perspective on disproportionate discipline can be kind of seen in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's farewell speech, or the last speech that he gave before he passed. This was written over 1,300 years ago, and it showed how Islam valued equal treatment at a time where that was not commonplace. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's last lecture, he crystallized many of the concepts he preached throughout his life. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned the rights Muslims have over one another and made sure to remind us that we are all equal except in piety and good action. And he reminded us Islam values fair treatment of all people, regardless of race, gender, social class, and income. Next slide, please.
So what parents can do. As parents, you can keep records of the disciplinary action that your student faces. This is important because if you want to raise this issue, you will need the time, dates, events, who was there, where it took place, etc. And this will help you like build your case, or if it becomes a case, or inform the organization or wherever you go next about this issue. So second, you can discuss with school staff to understand how disciplinary decisions are reached. And understanding the disciplinary standards will help you see if this is in line with the sort of discipline that your student faced. If it isn't, you have a basis for which to raise an issue. This could be looking at the policies. This could also be talking with staff. It might mean both. Next, you can reach out to the school's administration to see if disciplinary decisions are standard for that school. And you can also have a conversation with your child to gain more details and understand more of what's going on. Next slide, please. So, you can raise concerns of bias in a discipline appeal hearing for long-term suspension or expulsion, or during an informal conference with the principal. So if your student faces long-term suspension or expulsion, you can request a discipline hearing, or you can request an informal conference with the principal where you will be able to voice concerns about the disproportionate discipline. It will be useful to have notes about the instances when the disproportionate discipline occurred, and more generally just details about the situation. So you should be able to set up a meeting with the principal. Next slide, please.
Next step would be to file a complaint. There are also options for raising formal or informal complaints of discrimination under a district's non-discrimination policy and procedure. You also have dispute resolution options to the OSPI that is ran through the United States Department of Education Office of Civil Rights Complaints. The difference between filing a formal complaint and an informal complaint is that the formal complaint would be visible throughout your students' records. Informal complaint is usually through a setting where it's not recorded, but the complaint is received through the school administration. There's benefits to both. The informal complaint gives time for a school to fix or amend problems before permanently seeking a resolution route, whereas formal complaints obviously show proof of when and why you filed the complaints, and could be beneficial to if you are taking your case to maybe a federal court or a bigger court. But the first step of filing a complaint whether formal or if it's formal would be with the Office of Civil Rights at the United States Department of Education. If it's informal, I would say reach out to your district or principal and just speak to them and let them know what type of issues your students are dealing with. Next slide, please.
So lastly, we just want to leave you with some resources. The following includes some links. So we hope that this help demystify this process, and we understand that this can be a complicated process and it can be very daunting. But overall, thank you for being here with us, and if you want to learn more, be sure to check out our Instagram or our Know Your Rights website, where we are continuing to add content like this. So thank you, and thank you to you, my coworker, for doing this with us together. So yeah, I think
Thank you. Bye.